Hello, welcome back to my channel, Mark Riddell Creations. I'm Mark Riddell. Our last video, which was video 2, we put together some pouring mediums, and I forgot to explain what a pouring medium was, but a pouring medium is a base that you put together to mix your colored paints into so that it have the right consistency to do the style of painting with it. Okay, so the first color we're going to make up today is going to be Permanent Magenta by Winsor Newton. And we're going to be doing the Infinity pouring medium we made up. And what I do, I start out, get you down here. Okay. Start out, put a little bit in the bottom of these are 3-ounce containers that I get at Walmart. Okay. Put a little bit of our pouring medium on the very bottom, just enough to cover the bottom. And then your 2 paints, I always start out with just a couple of little dots because this stuff is expensive. You don't want to waste it. So I'll put me well, that's pretty thick. We'll put one good dot and see how that does. Okay, and you just put a little bit at first of the pouring medium until you get your color mixed in well with it. Okay, mix very good. Scrape all the sides and your bottoms. Get all your paint mixed in really well. And when you got your paint mixed in, and this 2 paint is going to make your pouring medium thicker. So you're going to add a little more pouring medium. Okay. You're going to make about probably 2 ounces of paint out of this. If it holds 3 ounces, you want to make it a little over, about half full. Should be fine. Now then, see it? It's a little light. So that tells me I lost some of the color to my paint. See, it's a little darker than that is. So I'm going to put a little bit more paint in. Okay. Mix this up really good. And sometimes you got to watch, because especially with 2 paints, sometimes you'll get a little clog in there you got to really work on to get it to mix well. All right. That looks pretty good color. See there? See, that's a little thick still. But all these mediums that we just made are all for the bloom technique and swipe technique. And that's about all you use them for, is blooms and swipe. You can use them for other types of cups and pours, but we'll get off into that later. It's a little expensive to do those kind of paints with. Okay. Now you want this to pour pretty nicely off your stick. You don't want it stopping globs, so this needs to be thin just a little bit. Now for thinning, I usually use the Josonia varnish. What do I do with it? There it is. So if it seems a little thick, just put you a little bit of varnish off in there. Give that a mix. And it should thin it out for you pretty good. It's still a little bit thick. But with this style of painting, when you're doing blooms and swipes, you kind of want your paint a little bit, a little bit thicker. You don't want it to be too thin. You want it to be just a little bit thick. So you want to on the thicker side than other types of painting, pour painting. It's still a little thick. Put a little more Jasonian in there. If that doesn't seem to be breaking it down, thinning it out good for you, then use the polyacrylic. All right. Now that's coming off pretty nicely. I'm liking that. All right. Here is the consistency of it. Can you see that? It makes a little bit, then disappears. That's about right. Okay. Okay. The next color we'll be mixing up will be bronze, and it'll also be a tube paint. And I didn't have the bronze color I wanted, so this is Artist Loft, and I'm using a metallic bronze. Metallic bronze and copper by Artist Loft. Okay, we're going to put in a little pouring medium. Ready? And I'm going to put just a squirt of the copper and a small squirt of the metallic bronze. Oh, this ain't opened yet. Hang on. Let's open this up. There we go. A little squirt of metallic bronze. And to mix these, I just use popsicle sticks. These containers are really short, so I break them in half. That way, you know, you're not using a hook. You get 2 sticks out of 1. Then I mix. I can tell this is going to be really thick. This is really thick. So I'm going to go ahead and use some polyacrylic on this. And I'm going to thin it out a little bit before I put any more medium in it. And sometimes it helps it to thin out a lot better than just trying to use medium and then doing it. I like to thin my paint out a little first if I know it's too thick. Okay, yeah, it's still way thick. So we're going to go ahead and put a little more pouring medium in it. Probably just enough to cover the top of it. Okay. Our color didn't change, so I know we got enough paint off in there. Okay. That runs pretty good. What you're looking at is the mound that it makes when it lands back in the cup. You want to see how fast it disappears. That's about a 1, 2, 3, almost a 3-second before it disappears. So I think that's pretty close to the other one. We're going to leave that for now. Okay. Our next color we're going to be mixing with the Infinity is Alizarin Crimson. And this will be a fluid paint, which when you mix it with your pouring medium, it's going to make it thinner than the 2 paints because this is a liquid paint. So you want to start by putting a little bit of your pouring medium in. I may have to make more pouring medium. Okay. this hadn't been opened yet either. Okay. Now with this stuff, I use about 4 or 5 drops. 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. Okay. Get this mixed up really good. And yeah, that lightened up a lot, so I know I'm going to have to add more than 4 or 5 drops. Hopefully the consistency will be where we won't have to do nothing with it. Let's add some more of this. Let's go about 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see that? It got a lot darker. It doesn't take much of this fluid paint. It's very highly pigmented. Just like the pigments, they're very highly pigmented. It doesn't take a whole lot. Okay. Add some more pouring medium. Yeah, I will have to make some more pouring medium. So after this color, I'll take a break and I'll make some more pouring medium. Okay, we're going to mix this up. And see how it got a lighter shade again? So we're going to have to add some more paint. But the consistency looks pretty good. Don't think we'll have to mess with it at all. And when it comes to the shade, you know, just you can add as much paint as you want to get as dark of a color as you want. I think I want to try to get it a little bit darker than this. It's almost there. Put a little more pouring medium. Just use it. Okay. We're going to add a little bit more. Good shot. That looks pretty good. Okay. It runs off the stick. Now see, this is definitely thinner than the others. So I'm going to add a little bit of Bear to this. And so hang on now, I'll be right back. Okay, I just put a little dollop of Bear in there. And that runs off really nice. That's about what you want right there. Makes it small and disappears. So those other two that we mixed, we're probably going to have to thin them out a little bit more. Okay, I'll be right back. I need to make up some more pouring medium. Okay, next we'll be mixing up a pigment. Now, pigment is a dry paint. Always wear a mask when you're mixing up pigments. I got a mask on. But you do not want to get this pigment in your lungs. All right. You're going to put a little pouring medium in the bottom. And with your pigments, Color Art, when you order these pigments, they give you these little spoons with them. And they're perfect for running this. Can you see? I don't know if you can see the sparkle off in that. I don't know if the phone's picking it up. but it's very sparkly, really pretty stuff. Just dump that down in there, give it a mix. You want to mix this really slowly at first till you get all the powder good and wet so it's not up in the air. Looks pretty good. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more pouring medium. Okay. Usually you're going to end up almost halfway, about halfway full. It's going to be about how much paint you're going to make out of these. Now, this is my first time painting with pigments, but I've been wanting to try them for a long time now. That looks like it got a little light, so I'm going to put a little bit more pigment in there. Like that. I wish you could see the shimmer that these pigments have. Oh man, they're beautiful. There you go. That's off the stick very nicely. May add a little more pouring medium to this. Okay. There you have it. Nice consistency. That's our Sunburst. Okay. All right. And the last color we're going to mix up will be another primary element. This will be called Ginger Peach. Same as the others. Start out with a little pouring medium. About enough to cover the bottom. Okay. Get your ginger peach out. I did my spoons. There they are. All right. Boy, today's been a long day. It's about 8 o'clock right now. Uh, Hope you've had a great day. And there's a lot of crap going on in the world right now. I hope things get better soon. Uh, so when you do these pigments, make sure you really slow and gentle with it at first until you get all that pigment dissolved, because you definitely don't want to get that stuff up in the air where you could breathe it. Oh, this is beautiful. And one thing I forgot to do with the other one, you can't really tell what a color a pigment actually is until it's been wet. So it's a good idea to always take a little dab of the color and put it on the cap of the paint. That way you know what color it looks like when it's wet and when it dries. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Alright, we're going to put a little more pouring medium in this. Oh yeah, that's cool. Pretty color. Okay, and there's the consistency. It's hard to see this, the camera. It's very close to the others. Okay. And now we got all of our colors made for our infinity pouring medium. And we're going to make the same colors for every pouring medium we made. And then we're going to do paintings with them and test them out and see how they all work. And see which ones we thought worked the best out of them all. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, next pouring medium we'll be working with will be our Valspar Ultra with the triple thick. Okay, first color we're going to do is the Alizarin Crimson by Golden Fluid. Same as always, a little bit in the cup. Good squirt of the Alizarin Crimson. Okay, some more medium. Okay, this looks like it's going to come out pretty good. Yeah, that's a nice consistency right there. Can you see that? Okay. All right. There's our lens crimson. Okay, our next color will be the permanent magenta. Okay. Put a good little dollop in there. Okay. Oh, that had something else in it. When you break your sticks, make sure you get little splinters sticking up that can fall off and get down into your paint. So always clean the broken edges real good. Okay, here we go. This is the permanent magenta by Winsor Newton. And this is the Valspar with the triple thick medium. That's a, okay. That. It does need to be a little darker. It needs to be thinned out too. That's a thick paint. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of polyacrylic in with this just to thin that down a little bit. That's better. Looks a little more pouring medium with this. Okay. It's still a little thick. I'm going to put a little bit more polyacrylic. It don't take a whole lot. Once it's almost there, it doesn't take much at all. I came home today, had all kinds of goodies waiting for me. Everything that I'd ordered came in all at once. It was like Christmas time. I got paint and pigments and got a new spinner, cake spinner. Really nice one. I really like it. Let's see here. That needs to be still a little thinner. My goodness. Yeah, them tube paints can really thicken stuff up on you. Sometimes it can be quite hard to get them thinned out enough to work well with the other paints. So lots of times when I paint, I will try to, if I use a tube paint, I'll try to use almost all tube paints. If I'm using pigments, I'll try to use, mainly when you're doing fluids and pigments, you need it seems like I have better luck if I put a tube paint in with it also, so it's not all real thin paint. There we go, that's doable. See that? Okay, there's our magenta. Okay, next we'll be doing bronze. Again, another tube paint. We'll probably have to thicken this down, thin this out also. So again, I'm mixing the Artist Loft copper with Artist Loft metallic bronze. I couldn't find a regular bronze, so I'm adding some copper in there to give it more of a regular bronze look. Yeah, it makes a nice bronze. It's quite thick. Yeah, it's gloopy. Okay. So we're definitely going to thin it out. Some polyacrylic. Polyacrylics, to me, that's what I like to thin stuff with. So when I'm mixing paint, I usually take a small container like this and, put me some polyacrylic in it so I don't have to keep on working out of that other can. It's a little easier. That's still a little too thick. Pour a little more in there. So, since we're just doing a mixing video, I'm just mixing regular paint. But if I was going to do a painting, a planned out painting, I would put my pigments and my fluid paints with the really thickest body pouring medium I have, and then the fluid paints, and then the tube paints I would mix with the thinnest one I have, and you'll have a better chance of getting them all to the same consistency if you'll do that. Most of these pouring mediums will work together. When we get to painting, I'm going to probably mix a few of them together to show you that, you know, you can paint together with them. That's pretty good. Maybe a little more pouring medium. Okay. And when I'm working with fluid paints, I do have some gloss gel medium that if it gets too thin on me, I'll use that gloss gel medium to help thicken it up. It's in my other room right now. I'd get it and show it to you. That's pretty good. I don't know if you can see that, but it sits there a little bit and then disappears after a few seconds. That's pretty good. We're going to call that one good. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to do our Sunburst. That pigment, I got to put my mask back on real quick. Okay. These little spoons that you get from Color Art, they're reusable. After you're done with them, just throw them in a glass of water and let them soak, and they'll wipe out real clean. Okay. Cannot stress enough about wearing a mask when you work with pigments. Stir very slowly while you're saturating all your pigment. And then you can get radical with it after you get it all saturated and it ain't going nowhere. It is a pretty yellow. Love that. Okay. That looks pretty good. And we're going to put some more pouring medium in this. really like the consistency of these pigments mix up at, because you almost don't have to do anything with them. They're almost just perfect. That's great. Okay. There's our Sunburst. Okay. Now we're going to do our peach. I want to put a lot of color on there. Okay. Now for our ginger peach. This is still the Valspar Ultra. Pour medium. Now they do, when you buy this, when you buy your pigments in a set, they do send the vivid enamel to mix it with. And this is just an enamel house paint, untinted, just like we're using. But it's their brand. Okay, and you mix it with the same varnish, 3-to-1. Or this is the Vivid Polypore, and they also send one of them, and it's already got the varnish in it, so you just mix this with your pigment, and that's it. But we're testing these pouring mediums that we're making from the paint, so we're not going to use this right now. All right. We're going to make this Georgia Peach, and then we're going to make up some cell activators. Let me get a spoon. Okay. Man, that stuff's got shimmer in it. Okay. Always put your pouring medium in first, because you don't want your pigment or your paint on the bottom and then put your pouring medium on top of it. You're always going to have some of that paint or pigment left over on the bottom. It doesn't pick up real good. It's better to put your pouring medium in and then put your paint on top of it. Okay. So see, you want to mix that pigment till it's almost like a thick paste. And then add the rest of your pouring medium until you get to the consistency you like. Okay. That's pretty good. I'm going to put a little more pouring medium in here. Alright, this video is really long here, so I'm going to finish this color, and that will do it for our first two pouring mediums. Our next video will cover the cell activator, and we'll paint. Anyway, there you go. Very nice consistency. All right. Okay. Again, I'd like to thank you for watching my video. God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow and get this series finished up. Thank you again for watching my channel. Love you all. Peace out.